Join me on board AC314, a red-eye flight from Vancouver through to Montreal in Canada, on board my first 737 MAX flight and also my very first flight trying out the Air Canada product.
BBL 851, turn right heading 180. 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
Welcome, where today I'm not in Vancouver, rather over the western suburbs of Melbourne on board a Qantas 737. Being Australian, here's a recap of just how I got there. A Qantas 737 flight to Sydney, followed by a transit, and then onto a Qantas 787 which took me all the way to Vancouver, touching down in Vancouver just before 3 PM local time. If you'd like to hear a more in-depth review of the Air Canada experience, you can listen to the DJ's Aviation podcast, available on all streaming platforms. A reminder that my flight today with Air Canada was during the pandemic, and when Vancouver and Canada did have a mask policy in the airport and on all flights, definitely a sight for the history books. Connecting from an international to domestic flight meant I did have to recheck my bags. The Air Canada check-in desk was about a 7-minute walk from international arrivals, and now I have about 8.5 hours left of my layover. It's also directly located beside the WestJet check-in, two fierce competitors of the Canadian industry. I'm on one of the last flights out today to Canadian destinations, aboard AC314 through to Montreal, so you can see I'm departing from gate C49 with an estimated departure time of 23:15. Past check-in, but not to be mistaken for security, there are a few convenient stores from souvenirs, currency exchanges, and of course a store for all your travel needs. A little further there's a food court with Subway, A&W, and a whole lot more. You're now, though, at the famous public observation deck just up the escalators and just above the domestic food court. It gives you a great view of aircraft pushing back, taxiing, and even landing in the distance, runways of course permitting. The airport is very avgeek friendly, and if passing through Vancouver, you should definitely try and take the time to visit. Equipped with telescopes and also information panels, it has it all and is perfect for a little bit of plane watching. As expected, I was unable to film through security, however once passed at the airport really did come alive. Its charm is ever present in the finer details, from the architecture to the various sculptures that are on show throughout the terminal and at various different gates. There's also an extensive model plane collection which I'll definitely be getting to shortly and giving you an in-depth look. Thanks to my long layover, I did have time to visit almost every single gate, meaning I went far and wide around the domestic area. As you can see, I'm now between gates A and B, with various WestJet aircraft parked around, and there are also some smaller aircraft on offer as well. Here we're greeted with two WestJet 737s awaiting their own departure. After almost 22 hours of travelling already, a stop at Starbucks was in order before the trip report would commence. Now sit back and admire the model plane collection featured inside the terminal. This isn't even all of them, believe it or not. Pick your favourite and do let me know in the comment section. These models though are from Brandt Arnold Smith and are aircraft that have flown to Vancouver. Collecting since 2002, Mr. Arnold Smith has allowed these models to be put on display to represent the past, present and the future, and will be a hit really for anyone passing through, but I'd say especially for the model collectors out there. After a roam around the airport, it's time to head more in the direction of my gate, which to reiterate is C49. Flying in late February, Air Canada's Fly the Flag for the Winter Olympics was ever present, and did you actually know? They even have a special livery to commemorate this. It's on your screen now if you are interested. One of my favourite things to do though while in the airport is actually exploring the gates and getting an up-close view of aircraft. I did have the opportunity to visit the regional corner of the terminal, and for the very first time I was able to see some Air Canada Express turboprops. On top of that, I was able to see some WestJet turboprops in the distance, as you can see now. Today, however, I'm flying on something a little bigger, the 737 MAX. Not this one though, but as expected, it's because a view of my plane was indeed blocked. I settled into Monk's Grill for dinner, a cozy location right next to my gate, and I picked up a panini with chips. A great meal, and definitely an excellent place to wind down before my flight, which of course was at 23:15 or 11:15 PM. With still more time to kill, I got to work on scripts. Even though it was vacation time, work was always calling. Not before though a feature from our partner Discord community server with over 5,300 members. If you'd like to join, you can do so with the link in the description or with the vanity URL discord.gg/aviation. Boarding was from C49, this is the gate earlier before the fanfare. Air Canada conducts its boarding in zones that correspond to your seating and ticket type area, although this can definitely be a recipe for disaster, with people unclear of what zone they are in. On-time boarding did commence, and I loved Vancouver Airport. It's definitely been my favourite airport that I've visited so far in my life, and today I'll be flying on my first 737 MAX, as mentioned, from Vancouver to Montreal, and also, this is my first Air Canada flight, registered as C-FS-DB. This aircraft was delivered to Air Canada in January of 2019 and was stored from the 30th of September 2019 through to the 14th of March 2021, and this is a 3,687 kilometre or 2,290 mile journey. The Air Canada 737 MAX is configured with the first 4 rows being business class, followed behind by rows 12 to 20 being economy preferred seating that comes at an additional cost. There is additional legroom and priority boarding, however I did not receive the priority boarding and was turned away. Behind row 20 comes a further 17 rows of standard economy seats, bringing a total of 16 business class seats and 153 economy, 54 of those being designated as preferred. Today though, I'm in 16F, which again to confirm is a preferred seat. The seat comes equipped with a tray table that does come outwards. I found the legroom though for the journey on this 4.5 hour flight more than adequate. As you would expect, it's a preferred seat. Therefore, it means it has additional legroom, and I'm about 5'9" for people that are interested in reference. We do have a safety card, of course, on every aircraft. Notably, it's written as 7378 and doesn't have any mention of the MAX on there. Following the safety card, there are a couple of bags that can be found behind them. This is if you need to be sick, although I'm quite a good flyer, and therefore I did not need it. While this is a red eye and the weather is terrible out, I did have a fantastic view of the engine and wing. Above the seat you can find the lights and little air conditioners if you will, although I'm not the biggest fan of reading lights in any case. Now for the IFE, I'm not someone that typically uses in-flight entertainment, however the selection available was good with some of the latest movies. However, you'll be made to pay if you don't have an earphone or headphones with you. This is really how everything is with Air Canada, coming at an additional cost, which for an airline that certainly isn't cheap, in my opinion, certainly shocked me. The best feature though on their IFE is yet to come, and I think you're going to like it. It's their 3D flight tracker, giving you some of the most in-depth real-time tracking ability, and I certainly loved using this throughout my flight with the various views, angles, and more to offer, and especially for a red-eye, it helped me understand where I was located and what major cities we were passing over. And as mentioned, I'm a big fan of tracking, so this was a very nice addition to the IFE on board the 737 MAX. It's also available on the Airbus A220 and I'm sure other aircraft, but I will have to try them out when I do eventually fly them. Although this was an almost 5-hour flight, it did not come with any food. You need to purchase that, and this is something I did not do, but here's a selection of breakfast meals and various snacks that are on offer. Equipped underneath the IFE is your USB port, great for charging your devices, and of course the headphone jack if you do wish to pay the additional money. Here is the departure out of Vancouver, which was very hard to see, so I do apologise for the quality, but nevertheless, enjoy. Shortly after departure, we were provided with a clean care kit that featured a fresh mask and I believe wipes, but I just kept this for souvenir purposes and did not open, as you'd probably expect though. Like most aircraft nowadays, mood lighting is present throughout the flight and it's always a lovely addition. It calms the cabin and definitely feels more relaxing. I had some water about 25 minutes into the flight, however I did ask if it costs money before requesting it. I got a dirty look, not that I was meant to know. Either way, it was tasty, as you would expect. Passing over now, Calgary. I know I have many Canadian viewers, so a massive shout out to you, whether you're from Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, or Calgary. Hello. The early stages of sunrise over Canada on board this Max meant the journey was coming to an end. As I do eventually begin my approach, I did want to recap. Being a red eye, there was not much that necessarily happened, so I do apologise for this. I wanted to leave though on my final thoughts. As you know, I loved my experience at Vancouver Airport. It's got to be one of my favourites. For the 737 MAX, the ride quality was surprisingly good. It was honestly one of the quietest and smoothest flights I've ever been on. As for Air Canada, they weren't bad. However, I think for what they're charging, I'd have to probably say I'd prefer to go with someone else, which I'll admit is hard given the selection of airlines on offer on this service, and on top of that, the timings, which are limited. I care a lot about getting my money's worth, even though I'm always in economy, which I think is fair. I don't necessarily believe from the flight, and in addition, my Air Canada A220 service, that anything truly sets them apart from any other carrier. Nothing left me, say, wanting to drop everything and fly them again. Although, being the hypocrite I am, I'm actually flying on their 777-200LR and 777-300ER in under 2 months, which there will be reports on. At the same time, I've never flown Flair or any other Canadian carrier, so I'd be interested to see in what their product is and take on a similar kind of flight for the price they're charging. For now, that's me going to be done with another trip report. I'm by no means a professional trip reporter or flight reviewer, but what I would like to say is thanks for watching. Now, enjoy the landing, and I'll see you next time.